Japan anime news powered by Newtype. It's sudden, but I'm at my limit, really. In various ways, that's right. If I could read the email from Kapain-san, who always sends me messages, I might be able to convey what I mean. Yoshida-san, thank you for your hard work on your trip to Singapore and Korea. Yes, that's right. For those who listened to last week's podcast, you heard about my trip to Singapore, right? Actually, regarding my trip to Korea, the Anime Game Festival 2024 is being held on December 8th and 9th on the 7th and 8th. I went there as a host. I have hosted 9 events in Singapore over 3 days and 8 events in Korea over 2 days, so I've been reading various related works and original materials. By the way, it seems like you're busy moving from such a hot place to a cold one, so please take care of your health. Thank you, that's right. It exceeds 30 degrees in Singapore. Well, that's to be expected since it's a tropical country. In Seoul, it's around -3 or -4 degrees. That's almost a temperature difference of about 40 degrees. What? If I were a non-heat resistant container, I would probably crack, like a parent sound. However, the timing in Korea is incredible. I saw a photo in front of the Korean National Assembly on X, and for a moment, I wondered if you were there for news reporting work, not just related to anime. Were you really doing some coverage? Here it is. The Anime Game Festival obviously can't be organized without planning it well in advance. So, we've actually had the schedule set for almost a year now. By the way, there's already talk about coming back in 2025, which is great, but no one expected the president to act like that at that timing. And then it happened. There were also discussions about possibly stopping people from leaving the country, and various other things were said. When I went there, I realized that the streets of Korea were operating as usual, completely unaffected. To put it in a way that Japanese people would understand, it's like saying that while there's a demonstration in Kasumigaseki at the National Diet, people in Ikebukuro wouldn't close their shops. More than anything, yes, it's about the demonstration at the National Diet. Should I mention this first? When it was decided that I would go to Korea at this timing, the head of our company's digital department got really excited and said, "Go for it." I also feel like I want to go. Honestly, there's no way I wouldn't go at this timing, being a curious onlooker. The media is just a bunch of onlookers, right? As an onlooker, I was really curious, so I tried to go, but I believe the organizers of the Anime Game Festival haven't heard this, so I'll say everything. The organizers of the Anime Game Festival said, under no circumstances should you go. The embassy has issued warnings saying it might be extremely dangerous, so please don't go. Since they had issued that, I first arrived on the day of the rehearsal, which was Friday. I arrived on Friday and thought, let's go grab a bite to eat. I didn't think it was strange at all, but I was firmly warned against it. On the first day, I was hosting quite a bit, with 8 sessions, and there was a gap of about 2.5 hours in between. The event was obviously located in the city center. In contrast, it was being held in a place like Makuhari in Korea, at an anime and game festival. So, it took about an hour one way, making it a bit tough to go back and forth in that 2-hour window. I had this feeling of wanting to go like, what do you think? But it turned into a no situation, and I thought I shouldn't cause any trouble. I hosted 3 sessions on the first day and 5 on the second day, finishing around 4 p.m. After that, I had a live broadcast to Japan from Korea starting at 10:30 p.m. I really was overworking myself. I finished the last session just before 5 p.m. and there was a little break until 9 p.m. I went to the area in front of the National Assembly. I was told I was no good, but I finished all 8 stages I was supposed to be on at the Anime Game Festival. I hosted them all properly. The last one was a Jujutsu Kaisen event with Megumi Ogata. I also worked with Kaji-kun and Daiki Yamashita on My Hero Academia, and with Otsuka-kun and Igoma-san on Oshi no Ko, where they played Aqua and Ruby. Plus, Blue Archive is really popular, featuring Reina Kondo and Yukio Fuji. Then there was the Elusive Samurai event with Asaki Yuikawa and Hino-san. On the first day, I was so busy that I can't even remember what happened the day before. Well, it's fine. I can remember everything from the second day, so that's good. After that day, I went out again. Everyone really imagines something like a presidential impeachment as almost a revolution, right? It feels like something on the scale of the Russian Revolution is happening, doesn't it? But it's completely different. The protests in South Korea are genuinely something that humanity is experiencing for the first time worldwide. Yes, it's like a festival. really. First, you go to the front of the South Korean National Assembly. A few hundred meters away from the National Assembly, there's a park-like area, a green space. And at the very edge, closest to the National Assembly, a stage has been set up like one you would find at a festival. They have proper sound equipment set up. A huge number of people are gathered there, mostly young people in their teens and 20s. I think it's because it's -3 degrees, and it would be tough for older people to stay out there for long. But there are really tens of thousands of people gathered, and everyone is holding light sticks. Almost everyone. Almost everyone has it, and they all have various artists and idols. What happens is that people go up on stage one after another to give speeches, but most of them start singing in the middle of their speeches. Something like that. It's kind of like a little MC followed by singing. It's somewhat reminiscent of a Masashi Sada concert. I don't know how much this is used worldwide, but it's about the same amount of MCing that Sada does at his concerts, or maybe even more than that. It's a concert. They're doing concert-like things, and since they're speaking in Korean, I don't understand it. When it comes to singing, everyone is waving their pen lights and singing along. Since it connects to the speeches, I initially thought it might be a cappella. But then, at some point, someone said, "All right, I'll do it." And suddenly they started playing EDM, like boom, 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 boom. With the EDM, it was like, woo! And there was a guide with us. And listening to the guide's explanations, it seems that, well, it's technically EDM, but they were saying things like, impeach the president, impeach the president. It seems like there's a person who plays the guitar and has hit songs like a folk singer. And those professional singers are singing parodies for that day. They're singing things like resign, impeach the president. What's amazing here is that there are multiple cameras present. The cameras are set up properly, and in the back there's a long row. The back part can only be seen on monitors. Monitors are installed, and they've been properly cut for viewing on those monitors. They're switching between cuts. During the chorus, they show the faces clearly, and during the interlude, they capture the crowd of 10,000 people from a great distance, showing all the people holding pen lights, and they're cutting between shots. I think the parodies made for today were specifically created for this, and they've got all the lyrics displayed properly at the parts where the lyrics come up. I thought, this is a festival. Since there are no armed conflicts or dangerous situations, there's a Starbucks right next to the venue. The Starbucks is operating normally. Not only that, but there are various cafes around, and when teenagers and people in their 20s come, it seems to become a must-visit place. However, there are people who can't go. Those who can't go are paying at nearby cafes, and they're doing things like ordering 100 cups of coffee from this cafe to distribute to the demonstrators here while they're feeling cold. I was also wandering around there. When I was wandering, someone said, "Here, have some tea." And I thought, no, it's inappropriate for me to accept this. I'm just here for fun. But there were people who wanted to give it to me. When I listened to their stories, I realized they were buying it from local shops out of their own pockets and distributing it to various people, which I thought was kind. However, it was -3 degrees, and it was iced tea. I heard that Koreans drink iced coffee no matter how cold it is, so I guess that's just how it is. There were a lot of people gathered, and everyone had pen lights. There were even stalls selling them for those who didn't have one. Plus, they probably wrapped things up by 7 p.m. to avoid making too much noise late at night. So it's strange to say they were organized, but everyone seemed to be having fun, and it was quite lively. I don't know if this will lead to good political outcomes in the end, but from my perspective, it might be something worth imitating. I think the participants are probably having a good time. So one more thing I was told is that everyone is holding flags. This might be somewhat related to anime news. They are holding flags, and there are quite a few anime characters on those flags. The reason for this, which I found out through online research and not from the person directly, is that they say you guys are organized by some big political backers. Someone must have told you that. To put it bluntly, in the case of Korea, it has nothing to do with being mobilized by North Korea to do such things. They are waving flags with characters from things like the Idol Master Cinderella Girls. The person I spoke to directly was holding a flag featuring a local character that was trending on the Korean version of 2chan. And there's no political backing, which makes sense. There are many instances where people with political claims wouldn't be associated with the Idol Master Cinderella Girls. And I also saw a lot of Crayon Shin-chan. Shin-chan was quite popular in Korea, you know. Are you past the 10-minute mark? That's fine. After all, it's one of the most talked about places in the world right now, right? Just happened to go there. So, well, what kind of anime works are popular in Korea and Singapore? Excuse me. I suddenly returned to Kapein's email. Crayon Shin-chan was quite popular in Korea. In Singapore, there was everything. There was even Chikawa. there was everything. If you learned anything or noticed any trends from visiting those two places, I would like to know. Overall, Japanese content accounts for about 70 to 80%, but there are games that seem to be Japanese style even though I don't know anything about Korea, and there are games where Japanese voice actors are voicing characters, like Project C. You haven't heard of it, have you? In Japan. Even though it's made by Koreans, there are games in a Japanese style, and the voice actors are also Japanese. There is a sense that local content is gradually growing. That is definitely the case, quite a bit. It's coming out little by little, and I'm sure some of them have been successful. In Singapore, there were trading card games I've never seen before. I feel like they must have gradually emerged. And P.S., the English title of the Blue Box is Blue Box. It's exactly that, isn't it? Since Blue Lock is similar, and both are sports-related works, it can get confusing when communicating in English. The other day, when I was talking to an American, we both didn't realize which one we were referring to until halfway through the conversation. Yes, that was the story. Yes. As for the trailer, is there a Korean version for both Project C and voice? But at the anime game festival I attended, only the Japanese voice was playing during the time I was watching. I realized again that Japan and Korea really have a similar sense in such matters. In that regard, I thought it was interesting that at the Korean Anime Game Festival, there were many otaku, and a popular t-shirt said, "I learned Japanese entirely from female voice actors." There were quite a few people like that. Some of them were in the military, and they were sitting alongside them watching the event. That was impressive. By the way, it seems that changing "learned from female voice actors" to the name of one's favorite voice actor is a more advanced way of being an otaku. Speaking of which, I mentioned that someone brought my acrylic stand to Singapore, right? There was also someone in Korea who had one. That person was wearing a t-shirt that said they learned Japanese entirely from Kotori Koiwai. This is a story about my experiences not only in Japan, but also in anime events around the world. This program is a podcast that delivers anime information to the world through the multilingual audio translation tool, Lingueene. Based on the latest anime information gathered from the KADOKAWA anime magazine Newtype editorial department, I, Hisanori Yoshida, will share insights about Japan's anime situation and culture with the world. This program was recorded on December 9th, 2024. Additionally, translations are done using the multilingual audio translation tool Lingueene. Please note that non-Japanese languages may contain inaccuracies due to AI translation. If you post your thoughts about the program on social media, please use the hashtag #JAnime. So, regarding Japan anime news, I mentioned earlier that I was feeling like I might die, right? Actually, I was at a hotel in Korea until 5 a.m. this morning. My flight was around 8 a.m., and I returned to Japan around 11 a.m. Just a little while ago, I hosted an event for Fuji TV announcing their 2025 anime lineup. I came back specifically for this. The event featured new announcements for Fuji TV's anime, and one of the highlights is that the beloved late-night anime block called Newtype, which has been around for a long time in Japan, is moving from its usual time slot of around midnight to the 11 p.m. slot. Moreover, it will become a nationwide broadcast. For someone in the broadcasting industry, this is incredibly exciting and overwhelming. But I thought that Fuji TV must have made such a significant decision. They say it will start in April 2025, but then I wondered what the first project would be. The first project is the anime version of Nazotoki wa Dinner no Atode, which is a big hit novel. There has also been a live-action adaptation, and it seems that within Fuji TV it's referred to as Nazodi. The cast includes Kana Hanazawa as the lead character, a lady detective who is actually a police officer, and Yuki Kaji as the sharp-tongued butler. The senior police officer is voiced by Mamoru Miyano. When Miyano said Nazodi, he immediately followed it up with Onodi. Haha. I guess that's the latest information. So there's going to be something called To Be Hero X, which will take over the slot that One Piece has been in starting this April. This is separate from Newtype, and there were various announcements made. The 3 people I just mentioned were on that stage. By the way, Kaji-kun met in Korea yesterday and then met in Japan today. We saw each other 2 days in a row across countries. They both had that, hey, look on their faces. Also, it's the 10th anniversary of Assassination Classroom. Next year marks the 10th anniversary of the anime adaptation. They announced that there will be various events for the 10th anniversary reunion. They mentioned that they would be rebroadcasting all 47 episodes of the first and second seasons of the anime. Jun Fukuyama was also there. There was also the Gundam conference held from last week to this week. I was the host for this event as well. Haha. Together with Chiaki Matsuzawa, it was announced that a new anime series called Gundam Zeke Axis will start, which also marks the 45th anniversary. The interesting point here is that until now, Gundam has always been produced by Sunrise. However, this time, it will be produced by Studio Kara. Of course, Sunrise is still handling the production, but you know Studio Kara, right? They are the ones who created Evangelion. This time, Kazuki Tsurumaki, who was a key staff member on Evangelion, will be directing, and the script will be written by Yoji Enokido, known for works like Revolutionary Girl Utena. The mechanical design is by Ikuto Yamashita, so it's going to have a very strong Kara influence. So, the protagonist is once again paired with a girl buddy, and there's also a boy, right? Probably, these three will be working together with Tomoyo Kurosawa as the lead. It seems like she came to a place that doesn't really fit with Gundam. That's probably why it's interesting, right? I heard quite a bit about the setting from the staff here. I thought it sounded interesting, but I'm sorry, I'm not really sure how much I can share. Huh? Gradually, it seems like Zeke Axe is interesting, and they said it will be released in theaters first. I wonder if it won't be released first? Anyway, there will be a theatrical release. They will do the theatrical run and also broadcast it on TV. So, it was mentioned that you don't need to know anything about the previous series for Zeke Axe, as it's a new series. A new series of gag manga Biyori is coming after 15 years. Of course, it's with director Akitaro Daiichi. I'm really looking forward to it. Ha ha ha. Right now, director Daiichi might be at his most interesting point in his career. I've loved his work since Child's Toy, but it might be the most entertaining now. Have you watched Boku to Roboko? You haven't, right? Both Boku to Roboko and Hanin no Hanzawa-san were created by Daiichi, and they're incredibly sharp right now. Wow, it's ridiculously funny at the moment. Why isn't everyone watching Boku to Roboko? It was so entertaining. You can still watch it now, so I definitely recommend checking out that short anime. Next, there's an anime called Cultural Exchange with Game Center Girl. It's about a girl from England who plays at an arcade, if I remember correctly. The lead role has been decided to be played by Amaki Sally. I think I mentioned it, right? During last week's talk about Singapore. Things are starting to get intense. It's coming soon. Next year, she might become a mysterious person attending global anime events with a leading role. Also, Kazuki Yao is stepping down from the role of Frankie in One Piece, and this will be announced at Jump Festa on December 22nd. I got the feeling that they will continue with this setup for One Piece. After all, if One Piece continues like this, it will still take a while to reach the end of the anime. If there are those who can't keep up physically during that time, I wonder if this is how they will proceed. It seems they will announce it at Jump Festa. So, the thing I understood the least from what I heard today is there a game called Prince of Tennis Arn coming out? Is the Arn version of Atobi Keigo being released from December 24th? Is this a card game? There's a game called Ha, right? The Atobi version of that. To explain the game Ha, there's the word Ha, right? Depending on whether it's an angry ha or, for example, a ha when you're exasperated, the way you say it is different, right? It's a game where you guess just from the word ha, and it's the Arn game with Atobi Keigo. Ridiculous. Oh, really? Is this breaking in the Tennis Prince suggestions right now? That's so interesting. So, with all these things happening, I really don't have time to rest, and this week, there are still various things going on. There are so many things that it's not really a time to be working, but I am working. Yeah, I shouldn't be doing a proper job right now, but the deadline for Comiket happens to fall during such a tough week. I wonder if I can make it this time. I do have the space, though. Wow, really, this time of year always drains my energy the most, around mid-December. And in the midst of that, I'm turning 49. I don't have the luxury to think about birthdays. I can't afford to think about such things. So, regarding the email address janime@1242.com, you don't need to send birthday wishes or anything unrelated to birthdays anymore. I appreciate the sentiment, but it's really not necessary. Please send something else instead. As for hashtags, are you going to use Janime Congratulations and Yoshida Hisanori Birthday Festival in various languages from around the world? I do see them, but I don't usually search for Yoshida Hisanori Birthday Festival myself. If I see replies coming in, I might think, huh? And click on them, but that's about it. So we'll bring you the latest anime news again next week. By the way, what are we going to do during the year-end and New Year? I don't think everyone has thought about it much, right? Well, the 30th is fine, but there won't be any news during New Year's. I wonder if there will be any special projects or something. There might be January anime too. So, we'll deliver the latest anime news again next week. This is Nippon Broadcasting announcer Yoshida Hisanori.